Part 1: Babur and the Foundation. Babur was born on February 14, 1483, in Fergana, a small but fertile valley in Central Asia. His father was a descendant of Timur, a conqueror who slaughtered his way into Persia, Anatolia, and India in the late 14th century. His mother's family distantly came from Chinggis Khan, another conqueror who needs no introduction. At 11 years old, Babur's father died in an accident, making Babur ruler of Fergana. Babur dreamed of ruling Samarkand, Timur's old capital. At age 13, he captured the city and admired its rich beauty, but his supporters abandoned him when they found little wealth in the war-torn city. While he was away, rebellious nobles took Fergana. By marching to stop the rebellion, he lost both Samarkand and Fergana in the process. In 1500, he took Samarkand back from the nomadic and ferocious Uzbeks, but soon lost it again to the leader, Muhammad Shaybani. After seeking refuge with his uncles, he set out again in 1504 and captured Kabul in Afghanistan. This gave him a strong base to decide his future. He could either go west and try to reclaim Samarkand in a land of warlords, or go east beyond the Hindu Kush and into the fertile and rich vast plains of India. In 1505, Babur raided India for the first time, crossing the Khyber Pass into Peshawar, but returned to Kabul after a few months. Meanwhile, Shaybani grew stronger and took Herat in 1507, securing his power in Central Asia. Babur had hoped to join the Timurid ruler of Herat, Sultan Hussein Baikara, against Shaybani, but the Sultan died before Babur arrived. The late Sultan's sons mistreated Babur's army, so he returned to Kabul. Babur saw that Shaybani was taking over Central Asia, so he decided to build his power in northern India. In 1507, he led another raid into India, but had to return to Kabul because his nobles were unhappy. On the way back, he stopped calling himself Mirza, Prince, and took the title Padishah, Emperor, making it clear that he was a true leader of the Timurids. The birth of his son, Humayun, also strengthened his rule. In 1510, Shaybani was killed in battle by Ismail I, the nascent Safavid ruler of Persia. Babur saw a chance to reclaim his lost lands. With help from the Safavids, he captured Bukhara and Samarkand. However, the people of Samarkand disliked his alliance with the Persians because they followed a different form of Islam, Shi'ism, rather than the local Sunniism. The Uzbeks, now led by Shaybani's nephew, took advantage of Babur's unpopularity and attacked. Babur lost both cities and had to retreat. Ismail sent more troops to help Babur, but they were defeated by the Uzbeks in 1512. Realizing that winning back Central Asia was nigh impossible, Babur once again returned to Kabul in 1514. He focused on strengthening his rule there, knowing the Uzbeks were too strong to fight. All hopes for a new alliance with Persia ended when the Ottoman Turks defeated Ismail in 1514. Instead of giving up, Babur put his full attention towards India. He spent years training his army and preparing for a major campaign. His goal was no longer to reclaim lost lands in the west. he was going to build an empire in the east. When Timur invaded India in 1398, the sack of Delhi plunged the reigning Sultanate of Delhi into chaos. Once the most powerful kingdom in India, the Sultanate of Delhi was already weak by the time of Timur. Timur's invasion was the beginning of its downfall. In the 1450s, the Afghan Lodi dynasty took control. The first two sultans kept peace with their Afghan nobles, who liked their decentralized form of rule. But the third, Ibrahim Lodi, was harsh, autocratic, and therefore unpopular. Babur, as a descendant of Timur, wanted to rule Punjab in northwestern India, just as Timur had done. Two men, Dilawar Khan, the son of Punjab's governor, and Alam Khan, an uncle of Ibrahim Lodi, asked Babur to help overthrow Lodi. Babur agreed, but mainly for his own gain. In 1524, he invaded and tried to negotiate with Lodi. However, Dilawar's father, Daulat Khan, blocked the message, as he wanted Punjab for himself. In November 1525, Babur regrouped and returned. By December, he crossed the Indus River and never looked back. He defeated Daulat Khan and moved towards Delhi. In April 1526, Lodi marched to stop him with an army of 100,000 men and 1,000 elephants. Babur had only 20,000 troops, but he had something new to India: muskets and cannons. Babur set up wagons and carts as defenses on the flat and open plain of Panipat, north of Delhi. He provoked Lodi into attacking first. On April 21st, 1526, the Afghans rushed forward, but got stuck in a bottleneck. Babur's artillery fired, breaking their formation. Babur's cavalry then attacked from the sides and rear. After 5 hours of fighting, Lodi and 15,000 of his men were dead. On May 10th, Babur entered the late Lodi's capital of Agra and became Emperor of Hindustan. The Mughal Empire was born. Babur had defeated Lodi, but he did not yet control all of northern India. Many Afghan nobles resisted him, especially in the east and Bihar. They supported Ibrahim's brother, Mahmud Lodi. Babur's army, meanwhile, struggled with food shortages and the extreme summer heat and humidity. His soldiers were restless and homesick for the cold and arid mountains of Kabul. The Afghan nobles realized Babur was not just raiding, he planned to stay. He faced two big threats: the Afghan forces in the east, and the powerful Rajput states in the southwest. Babur sent his son, Humayun, to defeat the Afghans. Then, Babur turned to fight Rana Sanga, an experienced and battle-scarred warrior with his own plans to rule Delhi. As the Rajputs gathered an army of 80,000, Babur knew his men were tired. To inspire them, he swore off alcohol and made his soldiers vow on the Quran not to retreat. This gave them new strength, as the two armies clashed on March 16th, 1527, at Kanwa, near Agra. The battle was long and bloody, but Babur's cannons and guns proved too strong. After 10 hours, Rana Sanga, badly wounded, fled. Babur then moved against the Rajput states, capturing Alwar and later attacking Chandiri in 1528. After failed peace talks, he stormed the fortress, witnessing the tragic Rajput practice of Jauhar, where women and children chose death over capture to protect their honor. In 1529, Mahmud Lodi regrouped in the east, gathering 100,000 men with support from Bengal's Sultan. Babur launched another campaign, crushing them at Chhapra on May 6th, where the Ganges and Ganga rivers meet. With Bihar under his control, he signed a peace treaty with Bengal, securing his rule over northern India. Outside of his constant warring, Babur loved books, music, and nature. Even during campaigns, he traveled with his library and searched for new books. He respected poets, musicians, and scholars, often mentioning them with the same respect as kings in his writings. Babur was a talented writer. He wrote poetry, essays, and wrote whenever he could. He described everything he saw in his journal, including the people, customs, and nature of India. He also wrote about birds, plants, and animals in detail. He believed good poetry could heal, and bad poetry could make people sick. These detailed memoirs of Babur's life, the Baburnama, were later preserved and illustrated by his descendants. Babur was often sick throughout his life, though he was physically strong and active. As he aged, ruling became tiring, and he lost interest. He spent more time with friends, family, music, and entertainment, leaving much of the work to his ministers. When Humayun fell seriously ill, Babur was heartbroken. A noble suggested offering something to Allah in exchange for Humayun's life. Babur instead prayed to give up his own life to save his son. Soon after, Humayun recovered, but Babur's health mysteriously declined. Before he died, he gathered his nobles, named Humayun his successor, and advised him to do nothing against your brothers, even though they may deserve it. Babur died on December 26, 1530, at 47 years old. First buried in Agra, his body was later moved to Kabul, as he had wished. Part 2. Humayun and the Third Interregnum. Humayun became emperor at 23. He was kind, smart, and well-mannered, but he lacked the toughness needed to rule. He loved math and astronomy, but these skills did not help him govern. He often got distracted by pleasure, dreams, and new ideas he never finished. His love for wine, opium, and superstitions made things worse. His father, Babur, had conquered a decent chunk of India, but ruled for only 4 years. Babur's strength held the young empire together, but after his death, there was no solid foundation. Before dying, Babur told Humayun to be kind to his half-brothers, Kamran, Askari, and Hindal, even though they plotted against Humayun. According to the tradition of collective sovereignty, passed down from Genghis Khan and Timur, all male family members had the right to rule, causing constant power struggles. Babur tried to prevent this by giving each son land. Humayun got Badakhshan, Kamran ruled Kandahar and Kabul, and Askari governed Multan. Still, once Babur died, his sons fought for control. In one instance, Kamran took Punjab and gained support from his father's officers. Humayun also faced outside threats. Sultan Bahadur Shah of Gujarat, with Portuguese gunpowder weapons, wanted to invade Mughal land. In 1534, Humayun marched against him. He took the fort of Mandu in 1535, then besieged Champaner. In August, his men found a weakness in the fort's defenses and captured it in a surprise night attack. This was Humayun's greatest victory. Instead of securing his win, however, Humayun and his men celebrated with feasts. Gujarat's people remained loyal to Bahadur in the meantime, and when Bahadur regrouped and attacked again, Mughal officers quickly abandoned their posts. By May 1536, Humayun had lost Gujarat and Malwa as quickly as he had gained them. Bahadur Shah was later executed by the Portuguese. In August, Humayun returned to Agra and found trouble waiting in the east. A strong Afghan leader, Sher Khan Suri, had gathered an army. He trained his soldiers well and paid them regularly, using his wife's riches for support. Unlike Humayun, who was distracted by luxury, Sher Khan was focused and disciplined. Sher Khan invaded Bengal in 1536 and forced its sultan to pay him a large annual tribute. When the sultan could not pay, he attacked again in 1537, taking Bengal for himself and growing even stronger. He crowned himself Sultan Sher Shah Suri and set his sights on defeating the Mughals. At first, Humayun ignored Sher Khan, thinking he was not a real threat. When Humayun finally acted, he wasted time attacking the small fort of Chunar instead of going after Sher Khan directly. By 1538, Humayun captured Bengal's capital, Kar, but found it abandoned and ruined. Instead of preparing for battle, he relaxed in the palace for months. While he stalled, Sher Khan took over Bihar and cut off Humayun's supplies. At the same time, Humayun's brothers turned against him in Agra, trying to divide the empire for themselves. Humayun realized he was trapped. He tried to retreat in 1539, but heavy monsoon rains slowed his already demoralized army. At Chalza on the Ganges River, Sher Khan tricked him and launched a surprise attack on June 26, crushing Humayun's army. Humayun tried to fight back, but was defeated again at Kannauj in 1540. His army fell apart. With no allies or friends to speak of, he fled west. By the end of the year, Sher Khan had taken Delhi and Agra, forcing Humayun into exile. The once powerful Mughal Empire collapsed just 14 years after its rise. After Humayun lost India, Sher Khan, now stylizing himself as Sher Shah, became the ruler of the new Sur Empire. After also forcing Humayun's brothers into a retreat, Sher Shah turned towards the Rajputs and besieged Raisen. When the Rajputs surrendered, Sher Shah's men attacked them, leading to Jauhar to protect their honor. In 1544, Sher Shah marched northwest to Marwar, ruled by Maldeo Rathor. To defeat him, Sher Shah tricked Maldeo into distrusting his generals. Maldeo retreated, and Sher Shah's army took Jodhpur and much of Marwar. His final battle was against Kalinjar in 1545. On May 22nd, a gunpowder explosion severely injured him. his army won, but Sher Shah died that night. He was buried in Sasaram in Bihar, his birthplace. By the time of his death, Sher Shah ruled most of northern India. He built a strong government by hiring ministers responsible for finance, religion, military recruitment, and government communication. He divided the land into provinces called sarkars for better governance, and prevented corruption by regularly installing new governors every few years. He improved taxes, making sure farmers paid taxes based on the land's productivity, and got rid of taxes on trade, making business easier and therefore increasing revenue. He also introduced high-quality coins with set weights, a precursor to India's modern rupee. His greatest project was improving the Grand Trunk Road, which connected northern India's major cities, and was given frequent rest stops for travelers. These reforms later helped the Mughal Empire when Humayun returned in 1555. After losing the Battle of Kannauj, Humayun wandered through Rajasthan and Sindh, hoping to find support to take back his empire. No one helped him. He traveled with his teenaged wife, Hamida, their newborn son Akbar, born in October 1542, and a few loyal followers. They struggled into Afghanistan's freezing mountains and dry deserts, where food was scarce and bandits plenty. Humayun wanted to go to Kandahar, but his brother Kamran controlled the area. Before he could decide, his other brother, Askari, arrived unexpectedly. Humayun barely escaped, but had to leave baby Akbar behind. Askari took the child and gave him to his aunts and wives, who cared for him with love. With nowhere safe to go, Humayun sought help from Shah Tahmasp I of Persia. In early 1544, he crossed into Persia without waiting for permission. The Persian Shah welcomed him warmly. He ordered his officials to provide Humayun with food, gifts, and protection. As Humayun traveled through Persia, people greeted him with music and celebrations. When Humayun finally met Tahmasp in Qazvin, in northwestern Persia, tensions arose. As a Sunni Muslim, Humayun avoided wearing the Shia headgear sent by the Shah, but he had no choice but to obey. To gain support, he agreed to follow Shia customs during his stay. Despite their differences, the Shah helped him. He gave Humayun an army of 12,000 cavalry, supplies, and skilled warriors in exchange for control of Kandahar, should Humayun be victorious. Before leaving, they shared a feast, and the Shah gifted Humayun apples, a knife, and a ring. Though, instead of heading straight into battle, Humayun spent time sightseeing in Persia. Eventually, the Shah urged him to leave. In 1545, Humayun finally led his army toward Afghanistan, ready to reclaim his throne. Humayun first tried to take Kandahar from Askari. After 4 months, he won and gave it to the Safavids, as promised to Tahmasp. Humayun's luck improved as the Persian soldiers stayed with him, and his brother Hindal and other allies abandoned his rival, Kamran. When Humayun reached Kabul in November 1545, the city surrendered without a fight, and Kamran ran away. There, Humayun reunited with 3-year-old Akbar, and celebrations followed. But peace did not last. Kamran returned, and Kabul changed hands 5 times between 1545 and 1555. the fighting was brutal. In some instances, Kamran's troops used women and children as human shields and put young Akbar in danger. When Humayun finally reclaimed Kabul, he let his soldiers loot the city and capture Kamran. His advisors wanted Kamran executed, but Humayun, remembering his father's last words, ordered him blinded instead. Kamran accepted his punishment and was sent to Mecca, where he died in 1557. Askari was also sent on a Hajj and died in Mecca in 1558. With both gone, Humayun secured Afghanistan. In 1554, he set out to reclaim India. The Sur Empire, which had taken his throne, was in chaos. After the death of Sher Shah, the new ruler, Islam Shah, replaced experienced nobles with unfit friends and family, destabilizing his rule. After his death in 1554, constant power struggles weakened the empire. This made Humayun's return easy. He took Lahore without a fight and, by 1555, recaptured Delhi and Agra, toppling the Sur Empire. But on January 24, 1556, he tripped on the stairs of his library and suffered a fatal head injury. He died 2 days later, at age 48. Arguably, what mattered most at the end of the day, however, was that the Mughal Empire was finally back in his family's hands. Part 3. Akbar the Great. To make sure that Akbar would succeed to the throne without any opposition, news of Humayun's death was hidden by his regent, Bayram Khan. A man dressed as Humayun appeared in public, and people were told that he was recovering. On February 14, 1556, at just 13 years old, Akbar became emperor. Akbar's rule was shaky. His army was weak, and his nobles were divided. 3 former generals of the Sur dynasty wanted power, and a powerful Hindu general named Hemu wanted the throne. It was said that Hemu had won 22 battles under the Sur dynasty and aimed to restore Hindu rule. With news of Akbar's succession, he took Agra and then Delhi by October, after defeating the local Mughal governor. Akbar's advisors wanted to flee to Kabul, but Bayram Khan insisted on fighting. They marched to Panipat, where, on November 5th, Hemu's powerful army fought close to victory. Then, an arrow hit Hemu in the eye, and he fell unconscious. His army then panicked and fled, and Hemu was captured. Bayram Khan urged Akbar to kill him as a symbolic act. Akbar struck him instead, and Bayram finished the execution. Akbar's throne was now secured. Bayram Khan ruled for 4 more years as regent, keeping order but making enemies. He replaced officials with his friends and family, and punished nobles harshly, sometimes even executing people over minor mistakes. His favoritism upset many, especially Sunni Muslims, because he often hired Shia Muslims. By age 18, Akbar decided to rule on his own. In 1560, he removed Bayram Khan, marking the start of his independent reign. With complete power now resting in Akbar's hands, he set out to conquer. In 1562, he sent his commander, Adam Khan, to conquer Malwa. The Mughals won easily, seizing its riches and the royal harem. Adam Khan kept most of the treasure for himself, angering Akbar. The emperor marched to Malwa, forcing Adam Khan to surrender. When it came time to deal with the Rajputs, Akbar used diplomacy instead of fighting. These warrior clans had long resisted the Delhi Sultans and the early Mughals. In 1562, Rajput leader Barmal gave his daughter's hand in marriage to Akbar. Akbar accepted, and Barmal's family moved to Agra to work for Akbar. Other Rajput clans followed, joining Akbar's court while keeping control of their lands. In return, they served as useful and skilled generals and soldiers in his army. Before long, Mughal culture blended with Rajput traditions, influencing art, architecture, and governance going forward. Some Rajputs, however, refused to submit. The Sisodias of Mewar, descendants of Rana Sanga, resisted fiercely. In 1567, Akbar besieged Chittorgarh. After months of fighting, the fort fell, and so too the Rajput states. Thousands of Rajput warriors died, and their women committed Jarhar. The Battle of Haldighati in June 1576 would largely end Rajput resistance, but it continued to be a thorn in the Mughal side until the 1610s. With Rajasthan under Mughal control, Akbar secured key trade routes and strengthened his empire in northern India. After taking Mewar, Akbar spent some years building a new capital at Fatehpur Sikri, near Agra, to honor a Sufi saint. But his need for more land made him turn to Gujarat, a rich kingdom with valuable trade routes. It had once been part of Humayun's empire, albeit briefly, and rebels had since taken shelter there. In 1572, Akbar marched to Gujarat, toppling its sultan and crushing the rebels. This victory made Gujarat part of the Mughal Empire, boosting trade and wealth. Next, Akbar set his sights on Bengal. Akbar's governor for the region upset local nobles by taking land and enforcing strict rules. Local religious scholars also opposed Akbar's religiously tolerant reforms. In 1580, a revolt broke out, and the rebels declared Akbar's brother, Muhammad Hakim, as emperor. Akbar sent his army to stop the rebellion in the east, while personally focusing on Hakim, who had invaded Punjab in the west. Akbar's formidable army forced Hakim to flee. By 1581, Akbar took Kabul without a fight. Akbar returned to Fatehpur Sikri, but had to march west again 4 years later when the Uzbeks threatened the empire's northwest frontier. Akbar stayed in Punjab for 14 years to keep a close eye on them, taking Kashmir, Sindh, and Baluchistan in the process. When the Uzbek Sultan died in 1598, ending the threat of invasion, Akbar returned to Agra and planned his next campaign. In 1591, Akbar demanded the Deccan Sultanates of central India to submit to him. Khandesh was open to the idea, but Ahmednagar refused. In 1599, Akbar led 80,000 troops to the Deccan. Ahmednagar fought back, but after its leader, Chand Bibi, was killed, the city fell. By 1601, Akbar also captured Khandesh. This was the height of Akbar's conquests. His empire covered almost all of northern India, stopping just before the southern Deccan. But Akbar was getting older, and so he started focusing more on governing rather than expanding. To govern and preserve such a rapidly expanding empire, Akbar made several changes to help manage it. As mentioned before, he gave local Hindu leaders, especially Rajputs, important roles in government. Rajput generals led his armies, and ministers took up high positions in the administration. For the next century, the Rajputs would continue to play a crucial part in the Mughal Empire's existence. The Rajputs were allowed to keep their land as a bonus, but Muslim nobles could not. For the Muslim nobles, Akbar created the Mansabdari system, where officials, called Mansabdars, got ranks based on skill and loyalty, not family or ethnic origin. They managed cavalry troops to give to the emperor when levied, and received salaries from assigned lands, or jagirs, but they could not own them forever. Akbar often rotated officials and land assignments to stop anyone from gaining too much power. This system strengthened his rule, but later rulers expanded it too much, leading to rivalries and power struggles. Much like the government of Akbar, the Mughal economy was also incredibly strong. India had long been a major center of trade. European traders loved its luxuries, textiles, indigo, and sugar, which were not found as easily back home. Indian cotton was especially popular because it was high quality and cheap. European and Middle Eastern traders preferred buying it over making their own. Most of India's wealth came from its fertile land. By 1600, the Mughal Empire held 1/5 of the world's population, and its economy was self-sufficient. Farmers grew enough food to support the empire, and merchants exported excess sugar, rice, saffron, and indigo. Later, tobacco became important too. The empire was a key part in global trade, especially in cotton, making it a powerful economic force in the world. Perhaps the most famous aspect of Akbar's reign was his deep curiosity about different religions. As a young man, he strictly followed Islamic rules and expected others to do the same. Later, at the age of 21, he had a change of heart. He married Hindu princesses and treated them equally to his other wives. He also removed the jizya taxes that targeted Hindus and non-Muslims, making all people equal under the law. In 1575, Akbar built the Ibadat Khana, house of worship, and Fete per Sikri for religious debates. At first, only Muslims joined, but their arguments led him to invite scholars from different religions, including Hindus, Jains, Zoroastrians, Christians, and Jews. Over time, he began to believe that no single religion had all the truth. Akbar adopted ideas from different faiths into his lifestyle. He admired Hindu beliefs, especially reincarnation, and spoke with Hindu yogis about their practices. He adopted parts of Zoroastrianism, such as fire worship, and encouraged Persian festivals. Jainism influenced him the most, especially its focus on non-violence. He reduced animal slaughter, ate less meat, and banned cruel and unnecessary hunting. He also met Sikh gurus Amar Das and Ram Das, appreciating their devotion to their relatively young faith. The ultimate conclusion of Akbar's spiritual journey happened in 1582, when he created the Din-i-Ilahi, divine faith, It was not an entirely new religion, but a mix of ethical teachings from the different faiths that he had exposed himself to. It encouraged kindness, honesty, and charity, while rejecting practices like child marriage, widow burning, and heavy drinking. It had no priests or holy books, and focused on personal spiritual growth. However, very few people followed it, and it faded after Akbar's death. After taking Khandesh in 1601, Akbar wanted to conquer more land in southern India. But he had to return to Agra because his eager and impatient son and heir, Selim, tried to take power early. In 1600, Selim failed to capture Agra and Punjab, so he fled to Allahabad. There, he took control of Bihar's treasure and ruled on his own. Akbar tried to make peace by offering Selim control of Bengal and Orissa. But Selim refused and continued to act like a king, even minting coins in his own name. Furious, Akbar sent his trusted advisor, Abu Fazl, to handle the situation. Afraid of him, Selim ordered his murder. In August 1602, a bandit named First Singh killed Abu Fazl and sent his head to Selim, who celebrated the act. Heartbroken, Akbar wanted revenge. But his wife and cousin, Salima Sultan Begum, stepped in and made peace. Selim agreed to return to Agra, was forgiven, and was named Akbar's official heir. Despite this, he continued to live recklessly, indulging in opium and alcohol. In 1605, Akbar fell ill with dysentery. He died on October 26 at age 63. The next morning, he was buried in his tomb at Sikandra, near Agra. Some nobles disliked Selim and wanted an alternative, but enough supported him to have him succeed to the throne. He became emperor and took the name Jahangir, conqueror of the world. Akbar was one of history's greatest rulers. Though he could not read or write, he was highly intelligent and surrounded himself with scholars and artists. He improved the military, government, and upheld cultural development. He accepted different religions, encouraged art, and used both diplomatic and military strategy to expand the Mughal Empire. His leadership forever shaped India's history, making him an extraordinary emperor. For a period of nearly 80 years, from 1526 to 1605, the Mughal Empire took root in northern India. Its first three emperors, Babur, Humayun, and Akbar, helped build it. Babur won control of Delhi in 1526, but kept the old government since he was too busy conquering new lands. His son, Humayun, inherited the shaky realm Babur left him, and lost the throne because of it. During Humayun's exile, Sher Shah Suri ruled in his place and introduced new governing systems that the Mughals later used. Akbar, who ruled for nearly 50 years, turned the Mughals from itinerant and wandering warriors into strong and solid rulers of India. He brought different cultures and religions together by working with local Indian leaders. He mixed Central Asian, Islamic, and Indian traditions to create a united empire. By the time he died in 1605, he had built a stable government and left a strong empire to his son Jahangir. Ruling such a vast and diverse empire, however, required a wise and inclusive ruler such as Akbar to lead it. If the Mughal Empire's future emperors were weak in their power, selfish in their behavior, or hostile and intolerant of the different religions and people of India, the empire would be doomed to disintegrate.